Jazeera news channel, reporting live from Washington, D.C. My name is Erica Moyer.
And I'm Nihal Krishan. Today we will be going over 3 simulation crises that the world is currently dealing with: environment, refugees, and security. And so to give you a brief overview of these 3 crises, first we have my coordinate Joseph in security.
Good afternoon from Washington, D.C. I'm Joseph Artrip, and this is
Jamie Dorner.
And we're reporting on the United Nations Security Council.
In the news of the first United Nations Security Council session, Indonesia has declared that they want the Indian and Chinese troops out of Bangladesh. Germany has given 40,000 of their peacekeeping troops. Pakistan and Saudi Arabia have pledged to give humanitarian aid, not military aid, to Bangladesh. The NGOs favor an international peacekeeping force in Bangladesh. Australia feels India and China possess potential belligerent threats to the peace. The Saudis in the security delegation degrade their fellow countrymen who have walked out of the refugee delegation. However, the Saudis call upon the 5 major powers of the United Nations Security Council to work as one keeping force in Bangladesh. There is tension among the NGOs, India, and Canada. France wants to combine the Chinese and the Indian troops in Bangladesh, but Pakistan, however, feels that they are the peacekeepers of Bangladesh.
However, after many hours of deliberation, many countries are mobilizing for war, when countries should be on the defensive. I'm Joseph Artrip, and this is
Jamie Dorner.
Reporting from Washington, D.C.
Hello, this is Clarence Phillip, broadcasting live from outside the security meeting of the UN. I'm here with 2 delegates from Canada, Peter and Emma, and I wonder if I could ask you some questions about the recent meeting we just had.
Absolutely.
Well, firstly, I'd like to ask you why you decided to leave the building upon the spilling of the media after an improper vote.
Well, Canada would like its position in the world to be one of moral perfection and good values, and we very much support some subjects such as the freedom of speech and being able to actually say an opinion and freedom of information. So therefore, kicking the media out was a very sore subject with us, and we do not support it at all. Therefore, we temporarily walked out of the meeting in order to keep our stormy rage not in the security session.
Good morning. We're currently in the environmental crisis at the moment. The debate started off by with the countries discussing whether NGOs should be allowed to be in the committee or not. After much deliberation and after a vote was put to it, it was decided that NGOs will be allowed to stay in the committees, but they will be only allowed to participate and speak when called upon.
Also, smaller countries encourage larger countries to help economically fund a program in reduction for carbon emissions. On the other hand, many countries still have their self-interest in mind when it comes to giving up economic power for environmental sustainability.
And so now we have a couple clips for you to see as evidence of what some of the countries believe they should be doing for this current environmental crisis. What is Saudi Arabia's basic stance on the environmental crisis for him?
Saudi Arabia feels for the countries and refugees, and we understand that other countries need aid, and the best way we as Saudi Arabia can aid these countries is that we are allowed to continue our current production of oils, because that's where 50% of our GDP comes from. Without oil, not only would we not be able to support the refugees of many other countries, we would then begin to have economic issues in our own country because so many people are employed by the oil companies in our nation.
Welcome to the Aljazeera Evening Report on the Refugee Council. I'm Mandy Kress.
And I'm Ashley Spears.
In the Refugee Council on Wednesday, countries began putting forth their ideas of how to deal with the refugee situation.
Australia is comfortable with the number of refugees they are hosting, but they believe any more would overwhelm the natural balance and security in their country. They are proposing an international refugee fund among nations for monetary contributions to support the countries with large amounts of refugees. They, however, do not support the naturalization of refugees.
Japan does not believe any nation should be required to take in refugees. However, every nation should be involved in helping out with the crisis. Funding and resources should be provided to them.
Jazeera, here with the delegation from Indonesia. You proposed a very interesting proposal via Blogspot about moving the Chinese and Indian troops from Bangladesh. What was your motive behind that?
Our motive is that to keep peace within Bangladesh, so we replaced the Chinese and who was the second nation? I'm sorry. Indian nation into peacekeeping forces that would keep security and peace for the Bangladesh people.
It was particularly difficult during this council meeting, condemning the media presence and noting they disagreed with allowing NGOs into their country.
There were high tensions involving media presence in the Refugee Council, after Saudi Arabia was kicked out of the council because of their disagreement with media representation in the council.
It still remains to be decided what will happen with the refugee crisis.
Once again, I'm Ashley Spears.
And I'm Mandy Crass.
Reporting from Washington, D.C.
Okay, why did you walk out of the negotiations?
At this point, we're uncomfortable with releasing a statement.
Thank you for tuning in with Al Jazeera this week.
And be sure to tune in for next week's episode of this newscast.
And don't forget, Al Jazeera is so much better than BBC.